I intended to finish this video in February, and for it to have a Valentine's Day theme, you'll understand why. Since sometime in 2018, my friend Josh has been inviting me over to his house for bad movie nights, where we watch bad movies on purpose. We haven't gotten together in over a year because of the pandemic, but once we're able to hang out again safely, I think it'd be fun to make a whole video about our bad movie nights, where I even take my camera with me, as long as Josh is comfortable with that, of course. We usually do a double feature, one movie from his collection and one movie from mine. He also has a collection of trailers for bad movies, so we usually watch those randomly before the movies. There have been multiple times watching these trailers where something has really stuck out to me. Each time this happens, I pull out my pocket notebook and pen. I always have them with me to write down ideas or reminders. My notebooks would probably look like complete madness to anyone except for me. Out of context thoughts, fragments of poetry, all sorts of random lists. To-do lists, shopping lists, lists of movies that people recommend to me. I've done this for years, but it's been an incredibly useful habit since I started having memory problems. So when Josh and I are watching these movie trailers and something seems appealing to me, I'll take out my notebook and pen and jot down the title so I can look it up later. Because of these trailers, I've added a few different movies to my collection for us to watch. One of those trailers was for a film called Neon Maniacs.
Let me ruin your evening, the stranger said to me. Your new lover, my old
They're young.
lover. She said
Come on, Sue, it's play.
They think they're going to live
I believe
forever.
what she told me.
What are you doing? Get out. He doesn't want to play with us. He wants to fool around.
But they're in for a terrible surprise.
I had never heard of this movie, but I could feel the 1980s just oozing out of the television.
Now, there are 12 new reasons
Over here!
to be afraid of the dark.
They're after me.
And every one of them is a killer.
And the fascinatingly diverse assortment of monsters captured my imagination. I felt like I just had to know their story. I felt like I had to know more about them. So I wrote down the title. When I got home, I did a tiny bit of research. On the Neon Maniac's Wikipedia page, the only listed reference is the book Zombie Movies: The Ultimate Guide by Glenn Kay, which is a book that I happen to have. Each movie in the book is given a rating with little symbols. Neon Maniacs is rated so bad it's good. Great stuff for fans of bad cinema. So I acquired a copy of Neon Maniacs for my collection. And then during one of our bad movie nights, Josh and I watched the movie. It is a total mess. You know the fascinatingly diverse assortment of monsters that captured my imagination when I watched the trailer? The monsters whose story I just had to know? They aren't explained. I was left with more questions than answers. It doesn't help that this movie has probably the most cryptic voiceover introduction I've ever heard.
When the world is ruled by violence and the soul of mankind fades, the children's path shall be darkened by the shadows of the Neon Maniacs.
I'm sorry, what? 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 Why are they maniacs? In what way are they neon? Why do they reside in the Golden Gate Bridge? What the hell are those cards about? Are they playing cards? Are they trading cards? The trailer does more to establish the Neon Maniac characters than the movie itself does. It at least gives most of them names.
Introducing, in diabolical order, Axe, Hangman, Doc, Biker, Slash. Juice. Samurai. Lowball. Archer. Soldier. These are the Neon Maniacs. They live so others may die.
Besides the trailer, the only other bonus feature on the DVD is an interview with one of the makeup artists, Alan Apone.
Hi, I'm Alan Apone. I'm a makeup artist. I own Makeup and Effects Laboratories in North Hollywood, and I was one of the people responsible for the movie Neon Maniacs.
I wasn't familiar with him, but when I saw his name, I thought to myself, isn't that the name of one of the characters in Aliens?
Sir, you copying this? Looks like hits from small arms fire. We got some explosives damages, probably seismic survey charges. Are you reading this? Keep it tight, people.
Apparently that character was named after him.
Let's saddle up, Apone.
Aye, sir. All right. Let's go, people. They ain't paying us by the hour. Let's go. Head them out. Okay, Frost, you're driving.
Apone and James Cameron worked together on the 1981 film Galaxy of Terror. I recently watched the making-of documentary on my Galaxy of Terror DVD, and there's even the whole part of it where people talk about working with James Cameron on the movie.
Jim had these incredible ideas. I mean, stuff that wasn't in the script that made it into the movie that he would shoot.
While it seems not everyone got along with Cameron, Apone was quite complimentary of him.
He was, a pussycat to me. So where I hear things, it is what it is. The man's amazing at what he does, and he takes what the avenue is that he takes to get there.
It turns out Alan Apone is a pretty prolific and successful makeup artist in the industry. He even seems to be Sam Jackson's go-to makeup guy.
I was doing makeup for Samuel Jackson.
And possibly as a result of that, he's worked on several of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. This interview on the Neon Maniacs DVD looks like it was shot on a consumer-grade camcorder with sound through the onboard mic. But the lack of formality to it is exactly what makes it fascinating. He's so frank and forthcoming about what a disaster the film was.
When we first started the movie, when you first tried to figure out where these Neon Maniacs came from, there's never any explanation. You don't know. We never knew. It just was. And part of it was just that they were out to make a movie to make money, a low-budget horror film, and they didn't feel like they really needed to explain a lot of stuff. Things just, they are because they are. And that's the way it was. Things just never got explained, and it wasn't important because what they were doing was making a widget. They were just making something to sell, and because it wasn't somebody's pet project. They found a very inexpensive script and decided to do it.
He talks about the Neon Maniacs cards.
Yeah, the trading cards, no, I have no concept of who made them, where they came from, nothing.
The interview gets pretty weird, too. Like, there's a caveman Neon Maniac character named Ape.
Ape was always there, and it was always one of those characters that they sort of wanted, kind of like Planet of the Apes, but Ape was sort of like the lover maniac, for some reason. I have no idea, just because of the way they cast it. I don't know why.
The lover Neon Maniac? I'm really not sure what you're talking about, Alan. Is this one of those situations where the monster is infatuated with the girl, like in King Kong or in Creature from the Black Lagoon? Is that what was supposed to be happening in the swimming pool scene?
I left my heart in San Francisco.
I'd love to see a full documentary about Neon Maniacs.
You had a lot of hair, like on Ape, a lot of hair laying, and a lot of glue.
I'm not home. I'm not in the mood to talk to my brain today. I've been thinking, Neon Maniacs is sort of like a horror movie adaptation of The Village People. There's a probably offensive Native American character. There's a soldier, there's a biker.
Mohawk, soldier, biker.
But it's like the writer couldn't remember all the usual Village People characters, so he just winged it. Yeah, there's a surgeon, a caveman, a samurai, a lizard cyclops with a hook for a hand. You know how the Terminator resulted from a fever dream that James Cameron had about a robot?
He always loved nightmares because they gave him great imagery, and like pleasant, happy dreams were just sort of a waste of time, you know.
When he was in post-production in Rome on Piranha 2, he called me one morning and said in a fever dream he had this vision.
I had this kind of recurrent image of this machined figure.
He said that he'd had this dream about the Terminator coming out of the fire.
Is Neon Maniac secretly the result of some paranoid, homophobic fever dream? I think I might be onto something. I mean, the movie even takes place in San Francisco. Now, I know what you're thinking. Daniel, the Village People are from New York City. Well, so are the Neon Maniacs if the background to the movie poster is anything to go by. And San Francisco was the title of the Village People's first hit. So what if Neon Maniacs is anti-gay propaganda? Like it's an allegory about gay culture corrupting our teens? I'm joking, of course.
Smart ass kid.
Speaking of teens, a lot of the teenagers in this movie look really old. It's like older actors trying to play teenagers.
We're talking beer, not champagne.
Pasta breath. Say goodnight to Steven, girls.
Come on, Sue, let's play.
Jungle Gym?
String bean!
Let him go, Wally.
Think fast, pal.
Hey, you'll be past puberty and into old age by the time you ask her out. Come on.
Look at all those 40-year-old teenagers. To be fair, I did hear a rumor that a few of them might be college students.
Hey, listen, forget it, man. I hear she's going out with some guy from college anyway.
Told you that.
It's a rumor. You hear rumor. You never heard a rumor?
And at least they're environmentally conscious.
Mass transit. It's good for the environment.
As an environmentalist myself, I appreciate that. Fortunately, the movie doesn't focus entirely on the middle-aged high schoolers and college students, because that would get old real quick. The best character in the film is this girl, Paula, who is a high schooler but actually looks like a teenager.
Paula, it's way past bedtime. Okay, Miles, just testing the makeup for tomorrow's shoot.
But weirdly, she also seems like she's supposed to be younger than that sometimes, like she's a teenager playing a younger kid.
No, give me back my hand! Ah! Bad doggy.
Whatever her age is supposed to be, she makes the movie a lot more fun than it would be without her. She likes sci-fi and horror, and she's into filmmaking and makeup effects.
Okay, and action.
Scary, Tom, scary. Good, good. Oh, now. Open your mouth wide and show your face.
She takes the initiative to investigate the Neon Maniacs with her filmmaking equipment. And puts her knowledge of monsters to use when trying to figure out how to fight them. Hold up. I feel like I've made that same list before. I really like that 1980s trope of resourceful kids who are interested in sci-fi and horror, sort of using their expertise to fight the monsters that the adults don't believe in. Like young Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th Part 4, or the kids from Monster Squad.
Are we Monster Squad? Or what?
I could imagine Paula hanging out with them, even if they had to revise their no girls policy.
Can't you read?
Mom says you have to let me in the club or else it's prescription.
That's discrimination, jerkoid. Prescription's drugs, which you're on if you think you're getting up here.
Come on, son, I know about one.
I have complete confidence that she would pass their monster test.
Okay, you guys. We should let him in on one condition. Monster test.
There are several references to other movies in Neon Maniacs, most of which appear as elements of the weirdly sparse set dressing during a slow pan across Paula's attic bedroom. The references at least make sense though, since, like I said, Paula is really into movies. Star Wars, E.T., Gremlins, Blade Runner. Throughout the movie, Paula wears a Nostromo hat from the movie Alien.
Right.
At the Battle of the Bands, which is also a costume party, there are people dressed up as Spider-Man and what I'm pretty sure is Mr. Miracle. The latter of which is an interesting choice since Mr. Miracle isn't a well-known character. That's not exactly a household name. Josh and I were also making a lot of references the whole time because lots of details kept reminding us of other movies. There was an effect that looked like it was straight out of one of my favorite zombie movies, The Return of the Living Dead.
Well, I don't understand what you want with it, Ernie. I mean, what are we doing with it? I want to examine it.
You make sure it's tied right.
The eclectic mix of characters in Neon Maniacs reminded us of the similarly diverse and neon-tinged group from another embarrassing mess of a movie, Suicide Squad. Especially since each ensemble features a rope-themed character. Neon Maniacs is Hangman, and Suicide Squad has Slipknot. Referencing all the squads tonight.
So that's it? What, we some kind of...
Monster Squad?
The inclusion of Ape, the lover maniac, caused Josh to humorously reference Encino Man. What if Neon Maniac started out as a horror movie, and then, like, after the first act, it just took a sharp left turn, and the main characters dressed Ape in hip clothing and brought him to school, and brought him to the Battle of the Bands? He'd fit right in with the middle-aged high schoolers. When I got home, I looked up Alan Apone on IMDb. A few of the titles in his filmography stuck out to me. It turns out he worked on The Return of the Living Dead, Encino Man, and Suicide Squad. There's obviously a conspiracy here. Alan Apone, Nick Fury, and Brendan Fraser are all in on it, but I'm onto them, and there is indisputable proof. Rearrange the letters in Neon Maniac. What does that spell? Encino Man. I know what you're thinking. What about the other A in Maniac, Daniel? That's exactly what they wanted you to think. Sorry, I must have blacked out there for a second. I'm not picking it up. I know it's my brain, but I don't have the mental space to deal with that guy right now. That makes sense, right? Although the movie is confusing and raises more questions than it provides answers, it's not completely inept. Most of its positive attributes are aspects of its mise-en-scène. I know using a phrase like that sounds a little bit lofty for a movie like Neon Maniacs, but hear me out. They clearly went to the effort of choosing locations that are visually interesting, including the costume dance Battle of the Bands. Aside from a few sequences being too darkly lit, the cinematography is quite nice. It seems to utilize a lot of the shooting location's existing ambient lighting. It's very atmospheric and moody.
How's our timing?
Our timing is just great.
The film has a striking color palette that actually seems intentional too, with a few recurring colors in the shooting locations, lighting, and even makeup and wardrobe. A lot of turquoise, red, and yellow.
Get out of here!
On the train.
I wish that dude would take a hint. Maybe I ought to wrap this up. So, in conclusion, if you're someone who also enjoys bad movie nights, I think Neon Maniacs is worth a viewing. It's a curiosity. The ways that it's bad are baffling enough to be intriguing, like some kind of bizarre relic to be studied and analyzed. Since the trailer provides character establishment that the film itself is devoid of, and since the interview with Alan Apone is so fascinatingly frank and enlightening as to why the movie is the way it is, I feel like they're almost required supplemental material for you to get the most out of the Neon Maniacs experience. Fortunately, the movie, the trailer, and the interview are the very three things that are on the DVD. So if you do plan on watching it, I think getting the DVD is the way to go. I have a collector's edition of the original King Kong that came in this tin case. It has all these bonus features and really nice booklets and pamphlets of mini movie posters. It would be so cool to have a Neon Maniacs release like that with the cards in it. I don't know how many people would buy something like that. Apone did mention that there's a Neon Maniacs fan club.
I got this letter from, I don't know who it was from, but somebody who runs the Neon Maniac fan club.
But I couldn't find one. Is it like some kind of secret society? If there's an active fan club out there, get a hold of me, because I'm in.
We all have our own little sort of things about the movies that we do, especially if they're not cinematically great. They have this greatness of their own, of what they are, the entity that they are. And so all you guys that love Neon Maniacs and movies like Neon Maniacs, make yourself noticed.
These movie nights with Josh tend to have a really positive effect on my mental health. They make me feel like I'm normal. I leave feeling good. I find them to be incredibly rejuvenating. They are something that I've really missed during the pandemic, and I'm really looking forward to being able to have a bad movie night again.
Let me ruin your evening. Drink say to me.
So that's it? What, we some kind of...
Neon Maniacs.